Hey folks, I've been wanting to do this for a while. I think it'll be pretty fun. This is going to be a playthrough of the Indigo demo with developer commentary. This is my gameplay that I recorded the other night. I'm watching it back now, and we'll share my thoughts about different parts of the demo. Give you some behind-the-scenes insights about different things as I was creating this. I created it over the span of about 2 months. Started towards the end of May, and got the demo released towards the end of July. So it came together pretty fast. Right now in this area, I was just kind of looking around at the different exits to this scene. This was one of the first scenes that I ever made, and I think you'll actually see as we go through this. Hopefully, you'll notice the quality of the scenes improve over time. So I kind of built the scenes in the order that the player would experience them through here. Something I noticed, a lot of players do not realize that you can bonk into the trees multiple times for the Deku sticks. The trees are actually an infinite source of Deku sticks. Every tree is, in fact. These silver Tektites were actually the very first modified enemy that I ever made. I knew that, from the start I was going to have a setting that was kind of based in the mountains, in the snow, at least at the start. And I think overall wanted to go in kind of more of have the demo be aimed at a player that has already completed both Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and they're looking for a little bit more of a challenge. So making those enemies a bit tougher was fun. I don't think they're too much, although I actually have been getting kind of a lot of pushback from folks saying that they really dislike the Tektites because they're just too hard. And I think that's partly fair. They definitely don't belong right here at the start of the demo as soon as you leave the starting area, that's for sure. But they are kind of a mid-game enemy, so I don't plan on adjusting them at the moment, but who knows, maybe a little bit later down the line I'll revisit that stance. Yeah, that mountaintop that we were just at, that was part of the scene that I created, and I had an idea to put something up there, and I actually can't remember what it was originally. And by the time I was getting ready to release the demo, I remembered that I had forgotten to put anything up there. So rather than rework the scene, I just dropped that NPC up there to give you a hard time about wasting the time climbing all the way up the thing. It is certainly too tall as well. I think a lot of my early scenes, and I think I've gotten a little bit better at this now, but certainly most of the early scenes suffer from a problem of having way too large of a scale. This is something I think that a lot of ROM hacks in general struggle with. Certainly something that I struggle with. It's hard to accurately gauge the playing space and how big it's going to end up feeling. I think I've gotten a little bit better at it, but there are certainly some scenes here that feel way, way, way too big. Yeah, this shop actually was one of the first things that I did as well. Yeah, one thing I thought was kind of funny here, you'll see when I highlight the fairy in the bottle, the flavor text there. I thought it was kind of gruesome, but nobody really seemed to even notice or care. I think I originally had the idea was that the Lost Woods were this connecting plane between a bunch of different lands, between Hyrule, between Termina, and other ones, including the one that we're in now. And each of these were kind of alternate envisionings of the same area, and there were actually multiple Deku trees. And in this particular dimension, or whatever you want to call it, the Deku tree that lived here has died a long time ago. Small Tula, yeah, I think I got the name for this from somebody in one of the comments on a earlier playthrough of the video. I thought the name was so clever. That scrub, actually, his text box is kind of overflowing there. I'll have to go back. Forgot about that. I'll have to go back and adjust it. I did try to give all of the enemies new flavor text when you target them and get some info from tail. I tried to show off all of them in this video. Some people really like it. Most people don't care. It was about half and half. I thought it was fun to write though, regardless. The small foes. This was another suggested name from the comments. This is meant to be the ancient Kokiri hero that everybody's been talking about up until now. And the execution of this idea kind of fell short of what I had originally imagined, but the concept was, and still is, to have more consequences for player action throughout the world, even in minor ways. So in this area, if you choose to defeat the ancient Kokiri hero's spirit, this section of the forest gets like dark and brooding, and it stays that way permanently. It's a permanent flag that gets set if you choose to kill it. And it also changes all the dialogue with the Kokiri and raises the shop prices in the shop as well. So they all get super pissed off at you for like defeating defeating their guardian. And you may have caught it here, that text box, why destroy her? Actually, all these text boxes, originally when I wrote them, I was using the word kill. And I watched a playthrough of somebody doing the demo, and they called me out on that. They're like, Nintendo doesn't use the word kill. It's always like destroy or something else. So it's like, okay, I'll change it. I don't know how much that actually has added to it, but they had a fair point. I grepped through all the string data in vanilla OOT, and the word kill does not appear. So, yeah, here we are. Yeah, all the Kokiri children are very upset with you at this point. And like I said, this is a concept I want to explore deeper. Oh, that sign should not be there, because I now have the thick layer of vines that you have to cut. That's the actor from Majora's Mask, actually. If you remember when you were rescuing the Deku Princess, you have to cut down some vines. It's the same actor, ported it over from Majora's Mask. This is another area, this like outside the Deku tree. It's way too big. This tree actually, I modeled to have like a beard. It didn't really turn out well. It's pretty crunchy. Like there's a lot of polygons and sharp corners. I'm not the best scene builder. This Deku tree also was a very early scene. Some of the rooms that look good are rooms that I basically ripped straight out of vanilla and made some slight geometry modifications to. The other rooms that look less good those are my original creations. Originally, this baby Goma that falls, it would actually fall directly on top of you, and it was force damage. But I got some complaints about that from early parts of the demo, and I agree. That's kind of a cruel thing to do. It's not really fair. It actually killed one person on their playthrough, which my first question is, how did you lose enough hearts by the time you got here so the thing falling on you actually killed you? I don't know, but it's a fair point, right? I'm not going to try to do unfair things to the player. I'll always give you a chance. I don't want this hack to be like a like a mean project. I do hope that one of my goals is, you know, if you squint and you look at it from just the right angle, you might be able to trick yourself occasionally that this was not a fan game. This is something that was like actually made by a legit team of game developers. Whether or not I'll be able to achieve that goal, I'm not sure, but that's a goal nonetheless. Oh yeah, what I'm doing here, I remember this part. There's actually a secret up under this current. You can kind of see here from this angle where Link's kind of like looking from behind there. I didn't end up putting it into the final demo because I figured nobody would ever come back to the Deku Tree after acquiring the Iron Boots. And indeed I was correct, but I originally had, you know, kind of an Easter egg back under there. If you get the Iron Boots and then return to the Deku Tree, then you can walk around in that water, and there was like a little message back there. Oh yeah, the Ancient Deku Baba. This is another very early enemy. When I was thinking that like the best thing I could do is just make all the enemies gigantic. Kind of a dud chest. A lot of chests in this demo are duds. The optional chests, I didn't really know what to do, just filled them with rupees. I already know the solutions to all the puzzles, so I know which Armos you're supposed to push. I did increase the speed here of Armos pushing, which was kind of obnoxious to do actually. The Armos work a lot different from regular push blocks. So the way to make block pushing faster is very easy, but Armos was not as straightforward. It actually took me like several hours to get it working correctly the way that I wanted it to. Oh yeah, what I'm looking at here, there used to be, in an early version of the demo, you used to just be able to jump up onto that ledge and like skip that entire section. I think it was ZFG actually was the first person to find that. And it was because of some like weird interaction Link has with geometry that is at an angle above him, where he just like ignores it effectively. So that was a little bit too big of a skip so early on, so I patched that out. Oh, one thing I haven't patched, this web here. A few people have noticed, but yeah, I kind of botched the placement of this, and it's not like touch, so you can just walk around behind the side of it like that. I mean, the reward is, you know, nothing, 50 rupees. Rupees are basically meaningless in the demo, but I did think it was interesting. I did see like 2 or 3 people find this. A lot of folks actually got stuck on that particular puzzle for quite a while because they either thought you needed to use like a flame storage glitch and carry a flame up from that other torch, or it was just, you know, impossible and something that left in. But the solution is to just bring a flame from this room with the torch here, carry it out the door, drop down, and burn the web down below. And this is an adult Link only mod. There is no child Link, so a couple of the items that would only be usable as child, I made those to be usable as adult as well, like Deku sticks. But you'll notice actually all the torches are raised up slightly. It's because like the hitbox for detecting like lighting a flame with Deku stick is set based on Child Link's behavior, Child Link's height. So it's really obnoxious actually using the Deku stick as adult because it never like lines up correctly. So you just raise all the torches up, you know, like a couple units, and it kind of solves that problem. This is another very early enemy when I was thinking that all I could do with enemies is just make them bigger. That makes them better somehow. I don't know. The enemies that I've created since then, I think, are a lot more polished and well refined. Oh yeah, this section, I forgot all about this. So apparently, I thought this was just common knowledge that you could just stop moving on the wall and these guys would ignore you. but I have watched so many playthroughs of people getting stuck here for a very long time because they had no idea that this behavior existed, and it's actually a vanilla mechanic. This is how they work in regular OOT. So I added that Navi hint, or tail hint, I guess, to them to be even more explicit, and also increase the range at which you can Z-target them, because so many people just didn't know that that behavior even existed, and they really struggled with that part, thinking they had to like come back later, that it was impossible to get through, they need to go find some other item. But yeah, the solution is just like, be patient, climb slowly. So dumb, I know. But I really liked... It's something I've always... When I was playing the games as a kid, I always liked finding ways to trigger the dive animation and then not land in water, because I thought it just cracked me up. So that gag is a bit of a throwback to 10-year-old me when I was playing this for the first time. I get a lot of crap for this puzzle, having the boss key right next to the boss door, but whatever. It was an early demo, or early dungeon. Give me a break. And to be honest, I don't think the Deku tree as it is now is going to survive. I think it's going to be completely redone for the final game. Oh yeah, I forgot. What I'm showing you here is the pot height. So in vanilla, these pots are like super obnoxious to hit with a sword. But actually, I modified their collision a little bit, so it's a bit taller, so you can just hit them with normal strikes. Such like a minor pet peeve of mine to always have to, crouch down or pick up the pot to break it. So I just made that collider a bit taller, and now it'll get picked up by regular sword attacks. Goma was the first boss that I tried to modify, and kind of following the theme of the other enemies that I tried to modify so far was make them bigger, make them faster, make them do more damage. Yeah, I've kind of realized that's not the best approach. It's not super fun. And to be honest, like the modifications that I did to Goma ended up not being very noticeable. I will share a couple interesting facts about like how Goma works in her modified version, at least. These are new things that I've added. So first, once she gets to 50% health or less, you'll see the time that her eyeball is vulnerable on the ceiling right there is way shorter. So it's still possible if you botch it and you have to go through another ceiling phase. You can still knock her down from the ceiling, but the window that you have to do it is much shorter. I think it's only like a couple frames. And the other thing is she does have a lot more health to account for players that use power crouch stab or Deku stick attacks and things like that. So I buffed her health a little bit, but I also didn't want the fight to drag on super long for players that don't know those tricks and want to just fight her normally. So actually, after her second ceiling phase, I set her health all the way down to 1 HP. Just like a little cheat. If the fight does go on for two ceiling phases, after the second ceiling phase, you only have to hit her one more time and she'll die. Even if you haven't done any damage to her yet for the entire fight so far, after she's been on the ceiling twice, she gets set down to 1 HP. I actually had a lot of fun making this little mini dungeon, and it came together in about the span of the day, a single day actually, largely because I just reused rooms that already existed from Gerudo Training Grounds with some slight modifications. But I didn't have to worry too much about like texturing and all that stuff. I could just reuse what was already there. I don't think this will survive into the final game. The point was just like I needed to kit you out for the next dungeon, and I wanted to do it in a way that was like slightly more interesting than just dumping a bunch of chests on you. So the Stall Children here are kind of the first enemy that hints at a larger system that I want to do with the mod, which is the idea of like having to use the right weapon for the right enemy. So Stall Children are skeletons or Stallfos. They don't have any flesh, so they're not going to be vulnerable to like pierce damage from a sword. You need to use a blunt weapon or a heavy weapon like the hammer or bombs in order to defeat them. And I want to like explore that theme a lot more. Have enemies that have certain vulnerabilities to certain like types of damage, as well as just straight up immunities to other types. Oh no, I forgot. Yeah, apparently, so since the demo went out, I don't know what changed. Like maybe I made the chests a little larger, or it's something to do with like the new Link model that I have set up. But it's no big deal. That chest contains the bomb bag, and I'll just use some of the debugging features to skip past it. Yeah, so a mechanic with Redeads from vanilla is that if you move slowly, they will not engage you. And I kind of preserve that and hint at it with the tail hint there. You know, let's just leave quietly. As long as you are not moving quickly, you can walk right up to them, walk around them, and they won't react to you at all. Alright, time for my favorite item in the demo. The Rock's Feather. This, so far, is the most fun item that I have created. I absolutely love this thing. It's been pretty popular as well. Everybody likes this one a lot. This puzzle had a ton of people get stuck on it because they, for whatever reason, just could not figure out this like backflip tech. You know, where you do a backflip and then feather out of the backflip in midair. And what I'm showing you right now is like the alternate solution that a lot of people found is to kind of jump off the edge and then feather. I put that puzzle there because like I thought that backflip tech was so neat. I wanted to force the player to learn it right away so that you could use it in other parts of the dungeon. So I think like the feather just opens up so many mobility possibilities. But it was maybe a little unfair of a puzzle. So this chest in the public versions of the demo contains the iron boots, but I've since replaced the iron boots with the Zora's flippers, which I absolutely love, although they took me like a month of work to get functioning the way that I wanted them to. They still have some bugs, but they're pretty close to done. Although they definitely don't work well in this tiny little chute. I'm just like trying to swim down, but it's not going well. There is you can just push B like in Majora's Mask to dive and sink like with the regular Zora mode or Iron Boots mode. And I'm just kind of showing off some of the animations. If you haven't seen the flippers already, I do have a devlog video that kind of covers them more extensively. But there were. Anytime I have to go look at the code for controlling swimming, it gives me flashbacks of this month of hell that I went through trying to get these stupid flippers to work right. Oh yeah, and water bombs. This is another fun item that I think we'll have more uses for in the future. Something that I coded in, but no player that I've seen has ever like noticed or pointed out. But the bombs do get different physics when they're underwater. They kind of like, you know, they sink slower. They're a little bit more floaty. Nobody noticed. All the things that I think will be like little nice, you know, polish, little nice touches. Nobody ends up noticing them. That's not going to stop me from putting them in, because it's so much fun to make them. Oh yeah, this used to be the Hylian shield, which no longer exists. Now it is Shield Zero, aka the first new shield that I've created. I'm sure there will be many, many more in the future. Yeah, I said I didn't want to just like dump a whole bunch of chests on the player, and that's exactly what I'm doing right here, because I kind of ran out of ideas for this item gauntlet to be interesting. So towards the end, I just like, here's all the stuff. These are technically optional. Take them or don't. And you don't need any of these items to defeat the final boss of the demo. Most people just take them. Farore's Wind is going to be the only magic spell that survives into the final game with its vanilla characteristics. Din's Fire, Nehru's Love, those are both being cut and replaced with different magical spell abilities, but Farore's Wind, I think, is useful enough as it is to justify keeping it in. And the Master Sword, yeah, the Master Sword won't survive either. This is kind of a demo feature. I do have plans for new weapons, new shields, new equipment, all of that stuff, which you will have to wait for either a future demo release or for the final game to see what I've got planned for that. Oh yeah, I remember I had to put this sign in here because I had so many players, like, there's a sign at the very start of the demo that tells you about this flipping the C buttons behavior, but by the time people got here, they had completely forgotten the mechanic even existed. So I put that sign in there to remind them, because I think it's very convenient to be able to just flip over. And the reason another question I get a lot is, why did I do this instead of the D-pad items that, OoT Rando has? The reason is because I want to use the D-pad for something else that I have planned, that I'm not ready to go into too much detail about, but I want to use those buttons on the D-pad for other functionality. I didn't want to just fill them up with, boots and ocarina slots. Yeah, so the Piccolo item, there's Kiki's Piccolo. There's not really any lore behind that. I just wanted to make a new ocarina instrument to be different. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of it. The reason I chose a piccolo or a flute is because I'm not a very great 3D modeler, and this is basically just like a flat stick, very easy to create, right? So that's how we ended up with a piccolo. I think in the future this is going to get another pass. It'll probably be scrapped, replaced with a different type of instrument that's more interesting, like a banjo. Another thing I get a lot of questions on is the names for places like the Skyloft Ruins. It's not something I put a whole lot of thought into, to be honest. Some folks have been like speculating there's going to be a lot of like tie-ins to Skyward Sword or other areas to explore in Skyloft. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I just picked names that I thought were kind of interesting and went with it. I think it's certainly going to be renamed. Might get some reskins and texture updates for the final release. Oh, this puzzle here is hands down the most hated puzzle in the entire demo, and I went through so many iterations trying to make this easier and more intuitive, because I really like the idea of hitting a switch in one room and changing some global state in the dungeon. And I think I'm going to continue to explore that idea, but I don't think it worked here. And I tried my best. Like, I put that border around the gate. I put like a torch inside there so you can, like look through the gate and see, oh, there's something down there. And it's got the same pattern. I was hoping like all of these things together, plus the gate in the other room, that's going to like trigger something in the player's brain, right? To be like, oh, it's linked. I need to go back to that other room and then that gate's going to be open. But it just doesn't work. I've had maybe one or two players solve it like quickly, and everybody else, they get stuck on it for a really, really long time, and it's just a major point of frustration. So that puzzle is almost certainly going to be getting scrapped for the final release. I'll have to figure out something else to replace it with, but I still like that idea. but I just don't think it works here. It doesn't work in this dungeon. There's not enough. I tried to make the visual cues obvious, but just hasn't been enough. Actually, now that I'm thinking a little bit more about this puzzle, another thing a lot of players attempted was to use like a bomb chew to hit that switch inside the little tunnel there, and then be fast enough to jump across before the gate closes. I tried to do this myself hundreds of times when I was first testing the dungeon, and I never could. So I assumed it was safe. But it turns out, if you are better at the game than I am, it actually is possible, and you can skip that whole section by standing in just the right place and using a chew. You can get it in there and then jump across the gate and pull yourself up before that little cutscene kicks in and skip that puzzle. And I think I'm gonna leave that in. I get a lot of I'll say not positive feedback about the size of this room, which is fair. It is quite large. I will say, in my defense, originally I wanted this to be like a fan chamber. Oh, actually, I'll come back to that. You'll notice these torches are raised quite a bit, and that's to prevent this trick of using the feather to jump up and snipe the torches. Again, it actually is possible. I've seen some clips of people managing to pull it off and light all of those torches and basically skip the entire dungeon. But it is so difficult. And I actually think I'm gonna leave that skip in. It's really, really hard to pull off, and it's quite a spectacle. So if you're able to do it, go for it. But yeah, like I was saying with that big central room, originally it was not a bridge. My idea was for it to be kind of like a large fan chamber, and that thing in the center would be the fan blades that you have to kind of reactivate, and that was what was, part of the system that keeps Skyloft up, right? Is it's less magical and more just like mechanical infrastructure. And the theme of the dungeon then is you kind of restoring functionality to all of these abandoned systems that have become like decrepit. That's why there's rusted iron switches all over the place and things like that. Unfortunately, execution fell well short of ambition in terms of what I was capable of modeling. So we ended up with just like a big rectangular bridge. And I mean, it works well enough, but it's not as exciting as it could have been. I do think I'm getting a little bit better at modeling. This room in particular was one of the later rooms that I created. I think I did a lot better job with it. It's still crunchy in some areas, and it's by no means like an outstanding room, but it's certainly better than a lot of the rooms in the Deku Tree, right? Like, I mean, at least give me that. I've improved a bit since the Deku Tree. I didn't get to talk about this color puzzle. Tile puzzle on the floor. Oh, there's another one in the dungeon, so I'll talk more about it when we get to that. Oh yeah, these keys. I wanted to make a sky keys, like a variant. Like there's fire keys, ice keys, and then I was gonna have sky keys that they have like a cloud aura, and they do extra knockback damage, so they're very lethal if you get hit with, in a sky area where you can just like fall to your death. So I retextured them, and then this was one of the very last things that I was doing, and I was so done. I just wanted to get the demo out. I kind of stopped halfway through, and we ended up with this like just weird variant of the keys where they are a lighter shade of gray with blue eyes, and other than that, functionally equivalent to regular keys. But we'll improve them. I still like the sky keys idea. And just having like more variations on keys in general. Like, we've got to have electric keys too, right? Yeah, the purpose of this room is just give you a glimpse of the boss key. I wanted to let you know very early on that there is a boss key in this dungeon, but put it in a place that's not accessible to have you have to come back to it later. this windmill platform, yeah, this is from the windmill in Kakariko Village, and it is not what I wanted to use here originally. I wanted a different type of platform that was more, you know, like horizontal, side to side. But again, it was getting the demo was dragging on, and I needed to get something in to just like make this room work. So I just swiped that actor and dropped it in there. So this is the second room now, where you kind of exit the normal dungeon and you end up in this kind of like hellish nightmare world that's just lurking barely on the outskirts of the dungeon. And I like that idea. It's similar to the sorry, this walk animation just cracks me up. Similar to the Ancient Cistern, where you've got this like really dark, you know, section underneath of it. But I wanted to do that with Skyloft, and I don't think my execution of it was ideal. I think there's, you know, 2 or 3 rooms, maybe 4, including the boss room, that have this aesthetic. I do like it, but what I'm showing here is one of the most infuriating parts of like-likes for me, is that for some reason their mouths turn metal every so often. And I disabled that. They no longer turn metal, and you can just kill them normally. However, the downside is just killing them when they're not metal. It makes it very easy to just get sucked up into their mouth naturally. So I'm not actually sure if it was a buff or a nerf to like-likes, because now I'm more aggressive with them and I get sucked into them a lot more. And this ice drop is another gag that I had fun with. I think I wanted to put the dungeon map here originally, but making dungeon maps is really hard. And there are no dungeon maps yet. That is something that I want to add. They're just really hard to do. Yeah, you can see some weird behavior with the camera here, because this area was originally designed for the iron boots and not the flippers. Every single run that I've watched of players doing this demo, all of them try to make this jump, and you just can't quite make it, and that's intentional. But the amount of people I see like attempt that and be like, oh, I gotta walk all the way back around, I think I'll probably change that so that you can make that jump, because it's just kind of tedious to have to go back through this part, right? Just some kind of unnecessary backtracking. Yeah, the central bridge is actually like, and the torches around it was the first puzzle idea that kind of spawned this entire dungeon, and all the rest of this dungeon is kind of like put in place to make that puzzle work. And I'll talk more about that later. Yeah, now it's time for the Stallchild Shaman. This is the first mini boss variant that I created. And it's pretty straightforward. He's got to hit him 3 times. He summons some minions to attack you. I'm pausing a bunch here because I'm forgetting what things I have equipped to my C buttons. There's one downside to the flipping the pages over, so you can't see what else you have equipped. I think I think what I should do is draw the icons for your other set of C buttons, kind of, you know, faded and in the background so that you can see at a glance what you actually have equipped there. Make it a little bit easier. Yeah, so here I'm actually doing it the intended way of, quote-unquote, intended way of chucking bombs at the guy. Most people just shot him with a bow, which it was technically a bug. Like, originally, he's only supposed to be vulnerable to explosives and heavy weapons, right? Like, I talked about that earlier, but for some reason in this state, I made a mistake with the programming and allowed him to be vulnerable to arrows when he's in that blue stun state. But it's like the gut instinct for every single player, so I've decided to leave it in as is. I modeled the icon and that special little, like, model when you hold it above your head after the Breath of the Wild model. I originally wanted to have a lot more outdoor rooms like this one, where you can kind of, you know, see the Skybox off in the distance, and it's kind of, you know, reminding you that you actually are in... Forgot about that guy. So I put that keys there specifically specifically for that gag, right? Because he kind of blends in with the environment. And I've managed to get, like, I think 2 people got killed by that keys. And that made me really happy. But anyway, yeah, I wanted more outdoor rooms. But again, I'm not the greatest scene builder. I think I'm starting to improve, starting to, you know, learn more about how to do it. But it's tough. It's tough to make rooms that are not squares. You'll see most of the rooms in this dungeon are very, you know, hard right angles, squares, no, like, weird geometry. Pretty safe. This puzzle I originally designed to use the remote bomb choose for. A much easier solution is just use bomb arrows. Although about half players actually still do use the remote choose in order to detonate on the other side and destroy that block. Oh yeah, this door up here. I'll get back to that later. It's another kind of funny story about me being lazy and cutting corners with development, which is kind of like my entire design philosophy is to be lazy. But I was overall very pleased with how this room in particular turned out, because you return to it several times. It's got several puzzles in it. It just felt like this room felt really good. So this is the kind of thing that I want to do more of with my future dungeon design, is give you a reason to return to a room that you've already been in previously, but now you have a new tool, or you're coming into it from a new angle and you can do something else, and, you know, kind of build onto it, because you're already familiar with this space, right? But you want to explore it in a different way, and I think that's really fun. More choose. Yeah, fun. I think I show this in the clip here. That chest being inside a box, for whatever reason, after you open it, it spawns on top of the other crate underneath of it. I don't know why that happened, but I don't care enough to fix it. And yeah, you saw me get the hint from that room. I'll talk more about that puzzle when we get to the other part of it. And here, the main puzzle where tons of players get stuck. I tried to make it pretty obvious with sound effects and the animation and, like, having the dust particle spawn, that, like, there was something blocking your way there, with unleashing the bridge so it could spin freely. Totally botched that jump, but just ignore that. However, a ton of people still like thought they were soft locked at that point. And I don't know, I think this is a case where, like, yeah, it's kind of a hard puzzle, and I don't really want to change it because it was pivotal to the design of the dungeon overall. So I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can let me know what you think, if you think that puzzle is too obtuse. And finally, back to the room with Boss Key that we saw so long ago. Right, so I talked about how that bridge puzzle was kind of the inspiration for all of Skyloft. In particular, it was this puzzle with the torches. This was the first idea that I had, and I was like, dang, I want a dungeon where this puzzle is part of it. And the entire rest of the dungeon design kind of sprawled out from how do I make this puzzle feel cool, and how do I make it, like, useful. So I really like this. This is my favorite puzzle in the dungeon, but it's also pretty hit or miss with people, it seems. So I'm kind of sad about that. I thought it would be a huge hit, but not everybody likes it. They're like, this is too weird. And I think part of that is because they forget that you can use Deku sticks as adult. Perhaps, you know, in where this is placed in the final game, which is, you know, fairly late game. It's probably be like the 6th dungeon. You'll be more familiar with the, you know, remembering that you can use Deku sticks, and this puzzle won't be so difficult. That's my hope, at least. Oh, right, here I'm going to show you that other door. I had this door here originally, but I realized that you could just use it to skip, like, an entire back half of the dungeon. And the easy thing for me to do was just put a wall in front of that door on the other side so you can't go through it. But, like, the door is still there, the door actor is still there and all that. But yeah, I think I show off the skip here originally, but you could just jump down and hit the wrestling switch that way. And I didn't want to, like, redesign the whole dungeon, so I just made it so you can't go through that door that way. This is another puzzle that a lot of people got stuck on. It was something that it's one of those things that was like, it was so obvious to me as the creator, and not obvious at all to other players. And I'm not sure. It's tough. Like, do I keep puzzles like this? Do I continue to iterate on them, or, you know, do I read the writing on the wall and see that it's not working out? The idea is that you have to charge the switch up. It flashes colors to green, and when it turns green, you have to hit it with another arrow. And there's actually, like, I coded in a bunch of different levels to that puzzle where you have to hit it 3 times or 4 times, and it gets a little bit faster each time. Thankfully, for the demo, I made it so that you only need to hit it 1 extra time. Like, even that 1 extra time was still too much for a lot of players. Many people got stuck there. Yeah, okay, so now I can talk more about this rotation, this, like, tumbler lock puzzle. The code for this puzzle is randomized. When you first enter the dungeon, it reads your current heart value, and based on how many hearts you have, it will choose which combination you have to use to solve it, and then it gets saved for the entire dungeon. So for a casual player, it's going to appear random every time. But I did it that way for, like, you know, returning players or people that are speedrunning it. If they know what they're doing, they can get just the right health value and be able to know ahead of time what combination they're going to get for the puzzle, so they don't have to, you know, go through that whole section and be able to skip part of that, which I think is kind of interesting. It is another point that I've been getting mixed feedback on. Like, I really enjoy watching speedruns, and I want, my dream is for Indigo to have some longevity with speedrunning. Whether I'm able to achieve that or not, I don't know. But there are certain design decisions that I've made with speedrunning in mind, and that tumbler puzzle is certainly one of them. Yeah, so this color puzzle, I said I was going to talk about this before. This little room that I was just up in, that alcove, that was meant to be like the top-down view, because these puzzles are kind of hard to figure out in the 3D space when you're looking at them low. So I added that little alcove up there as the top-down view, so you can kind of map your way out through the path. But I love these puzzles in the Oracle games, and I thought they would be really fun. And this is also very divisive. About half the players really love this puzzle, and the other half absolutely hate it. Which is sad, but I guess you're never going to please everybody, right? Finally putting my shield back on. I actually made these stall children so that explosives are a one-hit kill on them, even if they have, like 12 HP or whatever. Maybe it takes like 3 hits with a Megaton hammer or just 1 bomb, because I think, like, I want to reward using a consumable item like bombs, whereas, the Megaton hammer, you can just spam that forever. But nobody ever tried to use explosives. Everybody just kills them with a hammer. And maybe that's partly my fault, because I gave you the hammer, a room full of stall children. That kind of locks it into your brain. Okay, I see stall children, I use the hammer. That's just what I do. But you can kill them with just one single explosion. Alright, time for the final boss. When I was porting this guy over from Majora's Mask, a lot of the cutscene data I didn't understand, so it's actually missing. Like, I did my best to get the cutscenes working, but if you can still move around during that entire sequence, and a lot of players do. It ends up being just like a very awkward experience. But I did make him a little bit more difficult. He does more damage, he's faster, he'll do his spin attack thing for longer, and this is another point of contention. Like, I would say about half the players thought that this guy was extremely unfair, and they just could not get away from him. The trick is just keep your distance from him. You can see, like, I'm standing up right next to him and just getting absolutely throttled. If you get away, get some distance and reset, and take control of it from, being more of a ranged battle, with the occasional move in to get some sword damage on, it's fairly straightforward, I think. Yeah, getting cocky, spending too much time close to him is a sure way to get. I will say though, it is a little much. You can get wobbled pretty easily. Him just on top of you with the bats. If he chooses to just do a bunch of slash attacks in a row, it is hard to get away from him. Yeah, and after 50% HP, some of the other platforms will get these flame rings to spawn on them, just for a little touch of added difficulty. Yeah, and that was the end of the final demo. And that sign just says as much. Thanks for playing the demo. Once I finished this item that we're about to get here from the chest, I decided to drop it in as like another final reward. So you may not have seen these, depending if you already played through the demo. If you played a version earlier than when I finished implementing these Pegasus boots, you may not have gotten to see them. But between that and the Zora flippers, I've kind of knocked out 2 of the transformation masks from Majora's. We've got the Goron mask via Pegasus boots, and the Zora mask via the Zora flippers. Still don't have anything to do for the Deku mask yet, but we'll see. Maybe some kind of like Rivali's Gale type move. Maybe the Rock's Cape. I don't know. I'm not even sure if I want to do anything with the Deku mask yet. That's still up for decision. Oh yeah, I think what I'm showing here is the secret area. So all the loading zones behind these gates are to unfinished areas that I'm still working on. But I added a little Easter egg for people that decide to clip through them or cheat in other ways. So dumb. So dumb. I know, but it was really funny for me. Anyway, I think that's most of the demo content. I think there was a few other things that I showed off here. Let's see. Oh, that's right, the grottos. Yeah. So I'm still working on this. But basically, like, I want to have the grottos be a fast travel system. And actually, I'll let that speak for itself once I get down there, because I think I have a sign in the grotto that is explaining it. Right there, I was just testing. I realized I'd actually never, like, tested wearing the Zora flippers on a slippery surface, and I wanted to make sure it didn't, like, break catastrophically. Fortunately, it seemed to behave correctly. The texture on that door is kind of crunchy, but I think it looks cool. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for the playthrough. So thanks for watching. If you've played the demo yourself, thanks for playing. If you have any feedback, please share it. I really love watching other people play this and hearing their thoughts on it. So please reach out, leave a comment here about what you thought. If you have any suggestions, those are also welcome. Any complaints or criticism, equally as important. So let me know. Hope you enjoyed this, and when the next demo comes out, I will probably be doing another one of these if you guys liked it. So let me know if you'd like to see that. All right, take care.